we're back. This is Modern Ronin Media. My name's Tommy, and this is a film channel for people who love the art of filmmaking. So today, it's been, by the time this video comes out, it's gonna be a while since we posted a video. I spent all last week shooting the Nightmare Phantom. And boy, what an experience that was. We're gonna try to get into that in a video that will come out actually before this one's released. So today we are going to be talking about the Tokina 25-75 T2.8 lens. First, let me start by saying thank you Tokina for loaning us this lens for this production. But I want to go ahead and talk to you about this lens and my thoughts on it. It's the first time I've used such a heavy-duty cine zoom for any of the productions I've shot. I do own the Tokina 11-20. This is a great lens, and like I've said before many times in the past, this lens is perfect for ultra wide, but we're not here to talk about this. We're here to talk about this guy. This is I believe this is the third cine zoom lens in the Tokina line. They had the 11-20, the 50-135, and then this guy. I know they have a fourth, and I just don't remember which one it is right off the top of my head. But let's talk about the lens they sent and what I thought. So first, let's start with the actual technical specifications of this lens. This lens can cover almost all Super 35s and 4K DCI sensors. That being said, this is a 25-75mm zoom lens, which makes it kind of unique because at its price point, which we'll get to a little bit later, these wide telephoto lenses are very hard to find, and how do I say it without sounding horrible? They're just not that good at this price point, if you can even find them at this price point. So this is a T2.9 to T22. My understanding, most of you are used to f-stops. T-stops are just a little bit more mathematically accurate in terms of how the light goes through the lens and can be more consistent over a series of lenses. So like the 11-20, the 25-75, the 50-135, all of their T-stops should be a T4, which is what we shot the Nightmare Phantom at. Throughout, all of them should be exposed the exact same. So, like I said, T2.9 to 22, which is really stopped way down, and you do get a very deep focus at that point in time. In terms of the build and the glass inside, it has 15 groups of 18 elements, which again, at this price point is really good for what it is. The image circle is 36mm, so it's slightly larger than most of your Super 35 sensors. So the Komodos, the Dragons, some of the Blackmagic Ursas, and the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema cameras that are Super 35. This lens will cover it with no vignetting at all. It has a minimum focal distance of 2.43 feet, or roughly 3/4 of a meter for you meter people. Now that came in really handy when I was shooting the Nightmare Phantom. We had quite a few close-ups where I was pushing in at, what was it? I don't think I shot a lot at 75. I backed it off a little bit, so some of them were at 70, 65. And getting right up there really close to the subject and having that focal distance of about that far away was so amazing. It has 9 iris blades, which make a beautiful bokeh, and the overall length is 6.86 inches, or for you millimeter people, 173.4 millimeters. Now, it is a little bit on the heavy side. It is 4.8 pounds versus the 11-20, I think is like 2.5, 2.25 pounds. And if I remember right, I have played once with the 50-135, and I think that was somewhere in between these two. Again, this has a lot more elements. It has a lot more I shouldn't say moving parts, but it has a lot more technical things going on inside. As you can tell, the size difference between the two lenses there, and we'll get into this in a second, but you can tell the size difference. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the 135, the 50-135 is probably about there. So on this lens, it'd probably be right to this lens mounting point. So for red shooters, this lens will cover every single red camera with the exception of the 8K Monstro, the V Raptor at 8K. It will cover when you jump it down to 6K almost, or pretty much every single red camera's 6K sensor. So the Komodo, the Dragon, the Epic, the Helium. In the Helium, it will actually cover at 8K. So if you guys want to know for your camera if this is going to cover your full sensor, on TokinaCinemaUSA.com, on their website, go to the cine zooms and you can actually see what it will cover for the other manufacturers. I just happen to shoot mainly on red, so I had to look that up for myself. A couple of the cons before we get into my actual experience. This thing is a lot heavier than I expected it to be. I should have known that right off the bat. I knew it was going to be heavier than this guy, but what I didn't realize was actually how heavy it was. So on a tripod, on a slider, on a tripod head there, no problems at all. Didn't matter. Did have a couple instances when I forgot to lock the slider or the tripod head down hard enough. It did have some droopage. My fault, not the lenses. Where I did find the big issue with the weight was shooting some handheld scenes. You really start to feel it after 6 or 7 takes, or a very, very long camera movement take where you're going handheld tracking somebody. You start to feel it. The other issue, which shouldn't really be a con, it's both a super pro and a con when you're working manual. So we didn't have a big crew at all. In fact, I didn't have a focus puller. So on those handheld shots where I didn't have a follow focus attached and having to do a rack zoom, the 300-degree focus throw on the focus ring was very, very hard to do. You had to plan it out without some sort of manual or a mechanical follow focus. Again, it shouldn't be an issue. It was just one thing I did notice. Other than that, this lens was an amazing tool for the shoot. As I told the director and producer, we were going to shoot one character almost exclusively on this lens and everything else on this lens. The quality of this lens at 25 was better and framed better than at 20 on this, which is what we were going to shoot at. We were going to try to get a distorted look of one of the characters. So I think we shot all but 4 shots on this lens out of 150 shots, somewhere in there that we actually got, somewhere between 130 and 150 shots. All but 4 or 5 were shot with this lens. Am I sad that it has to go back because it's a loaner? Absolutely. By the way, Tokina, when you see this, I'll trade you this one for this one. I shoot more in this focal length than this one. But you guys, this thing is unreal. So let's get into a little bit of the basics. As I said before, when we did the unboxing, it has a really smooth aperture ring. We never had a reason to do a rack aperture. So going from, say, wide open to really closed down. We were always shooting in very specific scenes and very specific setups. Being able to have basically the 3 major focal lengths that I like to use in one lens was incredible. So one of the questions that I've been asking myself for a week now is I wanted to shoot the Nightmare Phantom all on primes. We reached out to a couple companies and didn't hear a response. I have a FD kit that has pretty much all of the Canon FDs from 24 to 135 minus an 85. My favorite lenses, my favorite focal lengths are 24, 35, and ideally 85, but somewhere above 50 is really where I like to shoot my close-up single character shots. And this really handled all of those amazingly. There's a whole bunch of scenes that we shot on the final day in a blacked out space using fog. And to me, it was a real stress test on the lens. We're trying to maintain focus on a character enveloped in fog. I'm a prime shooter. Primes are everything to me. But this This piece of glass alone may have changed my mind on that. This lens to me, out of all of the cinema glass I played with, is in the top one or two. I can tell you that for the price point, you can't beat this lens. One thing to keep in mind, at $4,999, this lens is a steal for what it can do and for the focal ranges it covers. That being said, a full frame version of this lens at this same focal distance is probably going to be $6,000, $8,000, $10,000. So as long as you're shooting on a Super 35 sensor, there's no and you want to get into cinema lenses, there's absolutely no reason why you should not look at these Tokinas. So you guys, as I always say, and it's kind of funny on this product review because this is money, but don't go out and buy the most expensive gear. Get out there and create the gear that best works for you. And if you think this is the gear that works for you, I would grab one before they go out of stock. Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching. And I look forward to creating more videos for you. I look forward to interacting with you more. And I really look forward to getting Travis and Ashley, now that we're done, on Zoom and have a conversation about the shoot. You guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.